Are you feeling like you're a victim of your circumstances? In this video, the speaker will explain how to stop being a victim and start taking control of your life. He believes that most people are unconsciously responding to the conditions in their environment, experiencing emotions derived from the hormones of stress. These emotions cause us to feel separate from our dreams and heighten our senses. He will share his theory on how to trade survival emotions for elevated emotions and how to open your heart to love. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how to take control of your emotions and create the life you want. People always ask me, how do I create? The person of my dreams that I want in my life. And I always say, take out a piece of paper. I'll write down everything you want in that person and then become it. That's it. Because so many people have so many interesting definitions of what they think love is, and so some people have it in terms of need. Some people have it in terms of sexuality. Some people have it in terms of control, dominance, and success. And so those are different experiences that really don't lead to this concept called love. And so my theory of a relationship was that I was in Australia for 3 weeks doing this big book tour, and I was on all these television shows and all these radio shows. And, I wanted to talk about, the science of changing your mind, the neuroplasticity, the epigenetics. And on every television show, they were asking me about soulmates. How do you create? I was just so tired by the end of this tour. I was at the Establishment Hotel in Sydney, and I was sitting with a Ken reporter and an attractive woman, and she said, "How come I can't create the relationship that I want?" And I was just so over it. I just looked at her and said, "Let me ask you a question. Would you go out with me?" Which is really the fundamental question. So I have a couple of series about relationships that I think are really important, and I use the same exact principles in my life. First of all, I will never work in a relationship, and I don't think anybody should work in a relationship. I think if you're working in a relationship, something is not clicking. Something is not right. But if you bring your best and the person that you're with brings their best and you celebrate your life together, then there's constructive interference, growth, and energy. If you're not at your best and you show up, more than likely you're going to pick someone or something apart. And it's better that you remove yourself for a period of time, get back into your heart, and present yourself at your best. And so if you're not there and you need a mirror or a reflection, then it's good to ask, am I missing something? Am I not seeing myself in some way? And then there's a healthy conversation when you were invited. But if you're not invited to contribute your opinion, then it's better that you don't. So people always say, I want a loving relationship, but what they really want is happiness. So we do these meditations to create love in our lives, and it could be love in familial relationships with your siblings. It could be with your parents. It could be with your friends, or it could be with a significant other. And so if thoughts are the electrical charge and the quantum field, and feelings are the magnetic charge and the quantum field, then how you think and how you feel broadcast an electromagnetic signature that influences every single atom in your life. The thought sends a signal out, and the feeling is the magnetic field that draws the event back to you. Right. So if you're not in a place where you're in love with life, or in love with yourself, or practicing diminishing your emotional reactions to certain people or conditions in your life, and you're living in anger, hostility, judgment, or fear, and you want a loving relationship, there is no magnetic field for you to draw that to you. And in fact, if you say to me, well, it's that person or that circumstance that's caused me to feel this way, and then I would say, you mean that person or that circumstance is controlling the way you feel and the way you feel and the way you think, And anything that controls the way we feel and think makes us victims too. Right. So most people are unconsciously responding to the conditions in their environment, experiencing emotions that are derived from the hormones of stress. Those emotions cause us to feel separate from our dreams. They heighten our senses. So if we can't see them, they don't exist. The threat or danger puts us in emergency mode. And we can think positively about the relationship we want. We could send the signal out into the field. We could have pictures. We could remind ourselves of what it is. But if you're not drawing the experience back to you because your response to the environment is actually weakening your organism, your response is actually weakening the body, then you will be, as a victim, more vulnerable to the conditions in your environment, whether they're large or small. And I'm talking about microorganisms as well. So if you wanted a true relationship where it was fundamentally based on this concept called love, now let's talk about that, because we practice this a lot in the work that we do. If you could truly begin to practice trading those survival emotions every day for elevated emotions and practice opening your heart, it's a skill that has to take place where you move out of survival. So people are saying, well, I can't open my heart. I don't feel loved. And I say, well, what do you practice feeling? Because whatever you practice feeling, you're feeling it most of the time. And that feeling could be guilt, but you're so used to it, you wouldn't even know it's guilt. It just feels like most people are practicing a feeling. Are they just reacting to how they feel? Well, they're there. They're reacting to their external environment. What's happening or some stray thought in their mind. And every thought produces a chemical. So if they have an unhappy thought, they feel unhappy. If they have a judgmental thought, it produces chemicals that make you feel polarized. Right? So the stronger the emotions that we feel from the problems and conditions in our lives, the more altered we feel inside of us, and the more we pay attention to what's causing it outside of us. So if you have an event or an experience in your life that has a strong emotional charge to it, and you don't feel like your normal self, you feel this alarm system switch on. You're going to narrow your focus on the cause, and the brain's going to take a snapshot. And that's called a long-term memory, right? So then, what people don't know is that every time they think about that event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body, as if the event were occurring at that moment, in that moment. So the highly charged event is actually producing the emotion, and the body is so objective that it doesn't know the difference between the real experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that the person is fabricating by thought alone. The body's believing it's so objective. It's like believing it's the same environmental experience. So the more highly charged emotional events you use, the better. Some people think of their ex, and the thought of that person makes them sick and makes them feel out of balance. So all you need is an image and an emotion, a thought and a feeling, a stimulus and a response. And you're conditioning your body emotionally into the past. So now the memories are just not in the brain. Now it's in the body. Okay? So now that thought of that person is actually creating a response in the body. That's the consumer, and the body's energy for growth and repair, consuming the body's energy to create, because in survival, it's not a time to create and survive. It's time to run, fight, and hide. So the problem is that it becomes a subconscious program. It's no longer a conscious process. It is now a subconscious process. So now the body has been conditioned into resentment, into unhappiness, into fear, anxiety, or whatever it is. And so it is back to our concept of bringing love into your life. So you say to that person, okay, you open your heart and you're going to say, "Are you kidding me? I was injured. I was hurt. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you see your cards first, right? And once I see your cards first, right? And then I'll open up a little bit. So, right." So now that we are in that state of survival, the research shows that the long-term effects of those stress hormones are pushing the genetic buttons that are creating disease. The body can't live in emergency mode for that period of time. So, in a sense, the person is making themselves sick by thinking along with the thoughts, or making them sick literally. So, the problem is that now the body is conditioned into the past, and it's the mind. Now, once the body is the body becomes the mind emotionally. So now all of this energy is stored in the body, and the person now has to leave their unhappiness and step out into the unknown. They have to get out of the familiar feelings that have defined them. So they'll say, "I can't really feel joy. I can't really feel love." And what they're really saying is that I've been conditioning my body emotionally so much into the past that I can't feel anything other than what I know.